Greetings, it's me again, April Diane, here with the Crochet Connection. And today, beloveds, we are working on the tiny clusters, which are found on page 21 of the Big Book of Crochet Stitches. And as you can see here, I've already got us started. So this pattern calls for chain multiples of 2 plus 1. So I did 20, 2 times 10, plus 1, which gave me a total of 21 chains. And if you're not familiar with what I'm speaking about, take a look at the tutorial in relation to making chains, okay? And so the chain stitch is the chain row of 21 is actually the foundation row. And then I created, moved on to row 1. In row 1, it says to do a single crochet in the second chain from the hook and in each remaining chain. Okay, so that's simple enough. And by now, if you've been watching the videos, you know what that means. And so here we are with our foundation row and our row 1 completed. All right, and then it says to chain 2 to prepare for the next row, and then it says to turn. But I always turn first, so I'm already turned. Okay, I started out like this, and I flipped it over like a page in a book. And then for row 2, it says to actually skip the turning chain. Okay, so it's saying that we're gonna skip these two things, and it says that we're going to do a small SC capital CL, which is a single crochet cluster. And so you're going to take a look at the stitch guide, and it shows you how to do a single crochet cluster. A single crochet cluster over the next 3 stitches. So we're going to skip the turning chain, okay? All right, and then we're going to do a single crochet cluster over the next 3 stitches. So we're going to go right into here, inserting it right into the very first single crochet from the previous row 1. We're going to insert, and we're going to draw up a loop, which means yarn over and pull it out of the insertion point. So now it looks like I have 2 loops on, and it says to do that in each of the next 3 stitches. So that was 1. Gonna do it again, inserting it into the next single crochet, yarning over, drawing up a loop, and doing it one more time, inserting it into the next one, yarning over and drawing up a loop. So we have a total of 4 loops on the hook. And then it says to yarn over and draw through all 4 loops. Okay, and that's 1 single crochet cluster. Then it says to chain 1, yarn over and chain 1. Okay, and then it says to insert the hook in the last stitch of the previous single crochet cluster. So here's the last stitch of the previous single crochet cluster. This is going to be our insertion point. And how I know, you can take a look and see it's spacious, meaning it kind of looks like there's a big hole. See that? So for the rest of this row, we're making that single crochet cluster all along the rest of this row. And we start the very first part of the single crochet cluster in the last stitch of the previous single crochet cluster. So we're going to, inserting into the last stitch of the previous cluster, yarning over, pulling up a loop once, going into the next, insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop twice, insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop 3 times, 4 loops on, yarning over and pulling off the 4 loops. And we're going to continue to do that all the way down. We're going to, but first, chain in between. Okay, so yarn over and chain, okay, to seal it off. See how it seals it off? See that? Okay, now insert it into the space from the previous cluster, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Next, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Next, insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. You do it 3 times and you'll know you've done it 3 times because you'll have 4 loops on. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you're going to yarn over and pull off the 4 loops. And then you're going to chain 1. Okay? I'm going to continue to do that. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Yarning over and pulling off all 4. And you want to remember to chain 1 in between. So you're going to yarn over and chain 1. And once again, insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. 4 loops on, yarning over, pulling off all 4 loops. And then chaining 1. Same thing, insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. 4 loops on, yarning over, pulling off all 4 loops, chaining 1. Okay, same thing, insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Yarning over, pulling off all 4, and then chaining 1. Okay, once again, insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Yarning over, pulling off all 4. Chain 1. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. And yarning over and pulling off all 4 and chain 1. So it says repeat from the star all the way across and in with a single crochet in the last stitch. So we see we have 1 stitch remaining here, and we're going to do a single crochet in this stitch. Insert, yarning over, pulling it through, yarning over, pulling off 2. Okay, that was our single crochet. And then it says to chain 2, 1 and 2, and then it says to turn. Okay, and that's the second row made. The third row is very much like the second row. Okay, so we chained 2, and now this time it says that it wants you to start at the base of the turning chain. So it basically is telling you that's the only difference. So you see this turning chain 1 and 2? Well, it wants you to start right at basically in that turning chain. Okay, sorry, can you see that? So here's the turning chains 1 and 2, and then you're basically there, that space right there, this hole is where we're going to insert. Okay, so we're gonna go right into here, basically putting the V of the base stitch on, and then we're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. Okay, we're doing a single crochet cluster. So that was 1, insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop, 2, and then insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop, 4. And then yarning over, pulling off all 4. Okay? And then you're going to chain 1. And then you're going to do the same thing all the way down. You just really want to be mindful, because now that you have all those chains from on the previous row, row 2, you want to go into those too. So you can see that every V is going to actually be worked in this row. Okay, so we're going to go ahead from the same thing. We're going to go, our first insertion point is the insertion point from the last stitch of the previous row, so the last insertion point. So we're going right in here, yarning over and pulling up a loop. Next one, insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop, and then the next one, insert until we have 4 on. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop, and then yarning over and pulling off all 4, and then chaining 1. Okay, same deal. Insert from the previous one, you see that? So we're going right into this hole space right there, taking a look up there. It does look kind of tight, like it's, you know, snug, but that's where we're going. Insert, yarning over, pulling up the loop, and then the next one is this very next V, so you're going into the bottom hole space of all the V's. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. There's the next one, which is a chain from the previous row. We're going in that V too, inserting it, and then yarning over, pulling up a loop. We have 4 loops on. That's where you can really concentrate, is making sure that you have 4 loops on, yarning over, pulling through all 4, yarning over, pulling off 2. Same deal. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling off all 4, chaining 1. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling off all 4, and chaining 1. Okay, same deal. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Yarning over, pulling off all 4, and chain 1. From the previous one, that's what you gotta make sure you remember, that you go into the last stitch. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop, and then all through all 4 and chain 1. Gonna take you all the way to the end just so that you get a clear understanding as to what to do. Okay, next one, insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop, and yarning over, pulling off all 4, and chain 1. Same deal. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop, and then insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop, and then yarning over, pulling off all 4, and chain 1. And it says to go all the way across and in with a single crochet in the turning chain. So right there, we're gonna do a single crochet. All right, insert, yarning over, pulling up a loop, and yarning over, pulling through 2. So we did our single crochet in our turning chain, and then we're gonna chain 2, 1 and 2, and we're gonna repeat row 3 again. Okay, row 3 starts out the same. You're gonna start in the base of the chain 2, and then you're gonna work a cluster all the way down, remembering to put a chain in between them. Okay, so, and when you are done, you will have a beautiful, beautiful tiny cluster, and I'll show you that. Okay, when you're done, this is what you'll have. Okay, your beautiful tiny clusters. If you have any questions, shoot me an email at connect@ourcrochetconnection.com. Thank you so much. Be well.